Brown, you mentioned Henry Box Brown in your piece. Can you talk more about the plunder that he endured and what you would see for Henry Box Brown?
Yeah, sure. It's so exciting to be here in Philadelphia and think about that. You guys know who William Still is?
Yes.
William Still is incredible. William Still should be on the money. I mean, like literally on the money. Like like a $10 bill. It should be. We should take Andrew Jackson off and put William Still. So I'm gonna try to get William Still's story right. And I'm gonna answer your question. William Still, and people can correct me after I've attempted to go through this. William Still is born, I believe, to an enslaved mother in Jersey. She has, a few kids, not just William, and they escape one time, and they're brought back again. They escape again, but the second time she escapes, she can take William with her, but she has to leave 2 of the boys behind. And the boys, and they come to Philadelphia, right, and they start this life. William Still grows up, finds out about the, evils of slavery, starts working, basically for the Underground Railroad, and becomes basically an archivist of the Underground Railroad. He literally keeps a written record of every, African American who comes through his office, tells the story, da-da-da-da-da. And I think, I'm going to try to get this right, when the Fugitive Slave Act is passed, he's scared. This document, this grand compendium, and you should read this, it's incredible. It's just a series of stories, black people claiming their freedom. This grand compendium, he's scared is going to fall into hands, of people who might use it to return people into enslavement. And he hides it in a graveyard, as I understand. I think that's what he did. But anyway, the brother who was left in enslavement, the 2 brothers actually, were actually sold down south as an act of revenge. And the other brother, whose name is escaping me right now, who I know is on the tip of my tongue, Peter maybe? Peter Still? It is Peter Still, yeah. Peter, through his own incredible ingenuity, actually manages to get free, comes to Philadelphia, and shows up at this office, and he's trying to catch up with his family, and he's facing this guy, and he says, listen, this was my story, this is what happened. And he's talking to William Still. And it slowly dawns on William Still that he might be talking to his brother. And they figure it out. And Peter Still has left a wife in slavery and kids in slavery all the way down in Alabama. They come up with this wild scheme to go, I'm getting way off. I promise I'm going to bring it back to Box Brown. I promise.
It's all part of the story.
Yeah, no, it is. But they come up with this, incredible scheme, basically to get his wife out of slavery. That fails. A white guy who volunteers to go, do the job ends up getting killed as a result. But eventually they get the wife out too. I say that to say there's this incredible history of African Americans actively claiming their own freedom. And I'm not, going to make the vast majority of African Americans who were enslaved had access to the Underground Railroad. But I think these stories of resistance are really, really important. I use the example of Henry Box Brown in the piece because I can talk about, all day about the numbers, about what it means, for American wealth, for African Americans to be plundered, what was taken out in terms of dollar figures. But what's missed in that is the humanity, the actual humanity. What it means to know that you left, a child behind in slavery in New Jersey. What it meant to be William Still and know that you had a brother who you would, never know, or you thought you would never know, who had been left in enslavement. The joy that you must have experienced to see that brother appear before you, as a kind of miracle right there. That's about our humanity, and we can never lose track of that. Box Brown, I think about all the time. Because here's a guy who was enslaved in Virginia, in Richmond, Virginia. Generally, had a kind master, as people usually tell him, had a kind master, was well regarded, and one day his wife says, listen, they're going to sell me and they're going to sell the kids, period. He had married someone who had a different master. And Box Brown goes all around the city trying to find someone who will buy his wife so that they can have, their family preserved. And this is something that African Americans did. I mean, any, historian of enslavement in this country, is deeply familiar with this. Well, they fail. He can't find anybody to buy his wife. And he tells, I'm going to try to not get emotional here, but he tells his wife, he said, listen, I failed, I couldn't do it, but I promise I will come see you before they carry you away. And his wife is in Lumpkins Jail in Virginia. They chain her, they chain the kids, they chain everybody, and there's a car full of slaves, walking out of Richmond, and Box Brown shows up, and his son, Box Brown writes about this, looks and says, look, it's my father. I knew he would come see us. Mm-hmm. And he holds his wife's hand as far as he's allowed to hold it outside of Richmond, and then he has to let her go. And, he watches her walk away and is eventually sold into slavery into North Carolina. At that moment, Box Brown says, look, I got enough. I had enough of this. You know, and you think about what it means to come up with the scheme which he came up with, which was literally to have himself put into a box and shipped north, right here to Philadelphia, to the offices of William Starr, I think, actually. And there was a beautiful picture, if you have a chance, you should see it. It's literally called The Resurrection of Henry Box Brown. And you see him coming up out of the box, like this, and everybody standing around him, amazed, like this, watching, you know, this man literally escaping, as they said, out of the coffin of slavery. And I think, like, you know, if you read the literature around William Still, what you'll find in almost, not every case, but in the vast majority of the cases, you will see African Americans talking about their families. Or somebody said they were going to sell my wife away. Or somebody sold away my kids. You know, it's not just the labor, it's actually the destruction of family. That's often the motivating force for African Americans escaping enslavement. And I think, like, in this era, where people criticize us and talk about how we don't value families, you know, and how we don't value children, and we don't value this, and we don't value that. This example of resistance, you know, for family, always for family at the end of the day, for the right of family is really, really important, and people should be familiar with it, and people who, you know, make those critiques should have to confront that. And I don't think anything's changed. I don't think those folks were any more noble than we are today. You know, I live in Harlem, and I witness people every day trying to protect their families.
We have time for one very short, teeny-weeny question. Go ahead. I gave you the mic, and that is the end of the
I'll try to keep it quick.